Here we take a look at the colorful pieces. First, let's look at the fabric and lining of the upper part. The lining is quite straightforward. The lining is sewn according to the pattern, with an additional 5 millimeters. Here we mainly discuss the fabric. We need to cut these two positions like this on the fabric. Separate the drawing like this. Do not cut this straight line on top. This position is just for comparison. Let's wait for the position of the pocket. After dividing it into 3 parts,
once we have marked it on this fabric,
add 5 millimeters to the seams. The upper part also has a pocket pattern.
The seam at the top of the pocket pattern.
We leave a 1 centimeter space. The rest of the space is the standard 5 millimeters. Now let's discuss this position on our drawing. There are 2 red lines. That is to say, this position of the outer fabric and the ceremonial position between the 2 red lines.
This length is for my board prototype.
The position slightly more on both sides.
It's a designated position.
When everyone is creating, you can also set this position aside for now. In a moment, we will focus on the upper part. Stitch it to the lower part. You can adjust based on the actual conditions.
Make a reasonable adjustment.
Mark your position on the red line.
Just make a mark.
Just like I have it here. We'll discuss how to adjust it. I will explain how to perform that step. Be careful while marking. This is the part of our strap. For the strap, refer to the blueprint. Cut directly based on the provided dimensions. No need to add more stitches. The length of the strap, I provided the length of 2 pieces combined. There are also some extra parts. Because leaving it a bit longer will make it easier. After we finish handling it, we will trim it again. Next is the part of the skirt. We need to piece together the skirt. Some need to be pieced together. Some need to be combined into 3. Take a look at this. The drawing states to multiply by 1 level. If multiplied by 2, we will draw 2 of these. If multiplied by 3, we draw 3. When we are painting, we complete one section first.
And we connect it to the edge.
Just paint the second section like this. There's no need to flip it back and forth. Just keep connecting downward. If it's written as 3 pieces, it means multiplying by 3. Then we will continue and draw 1 more piece. When drawing grids, we simply use this line. Mark the positions at both ends. Then connect them together using a pointer ruler. Please pay attention to this line. We should draw everything on the front side of the fabric. This makes it easier for us to fold this pleat later. Additionally, let's discuss the pleats. I have actually drawn a bit more of them. There is some extra length reserved. But if your foundation waist measurement is indeed much thicker than my style, in a situation where you are significantly carry on from here,
draw a few more grids outward.
The specific amount to draw depends on the actual situation of your own base body. Additionally, its stitching are standard 5 millimeters. Here we will handle the section that is being carried. Cut it directly based on the dimensions provided. There's no need to add any more stitches. Then we will fold it in half after ironing out this crease in the center. Fold down the edges of the fabric on both sides to align.
Iron it again.
After ironing, bring the 2 sides together and iron it again. The size provided to me here is for 2 pieces together. Divide it in half and cut it open. You can either take care of it first. Both options are. It depends on your own habit. Next, we'll stitch and secure this open side first. But be cautious with this side.
It means one end is sewn into the seam.
However, one end is exposed. If we refer to this exposed end, you want it to be a little more refined. You can fold it neatly and then sew it together. My current steps are seamless,
but I am in this tutorial folder.
I have placed that video separately. Everyone can take a look.
If you want to handle it that way.
If you don't intend to handle it just like I am doing right now. First, directly suture and secure this side of the opening.
Also,
when pulling the 2 lines on the left, we want to make its front side. That is the front side on both the left and right. Both are facing the same direction because the lines on the front side will look better. In a moment, we will use this more attractive line for the front that we are directed towards. If one side is pulling on the line of the front, and then you turn it over. If pulling a line represents the back side, then it won't look as visually appealing. This is how it looks after the straps are tightened. We'll use the other strap that we just cut off. The same. Pull on 2 lines. Once both straps have been prepared, let's pass this through the ring buckle and the gourd buckle. Let me explain this. If you mean to say,
if you want to secure the front directly,
then you can also do without this kind of accessory.
Because for our setup,
this skirt has an opening at the back. In other words, actually, you can secure it at both the front and back. For example, I have a slightly looser style.
I just secured it directly.
If you want to directly secure the hems,
you can skip this step.
After we finish sewing the entire skirt, finally I will explain, that is to say, how to use a direct securing method. If you want to use the Japanese-style buckle, then we can do it as shown in the video. First, let's insert this Japanese-style buckle. The position of the Japanese-style buckle, so we will insert it first.
You can adjust it to your preferred position later.
Then we'll fasten this gourd-shaped piece in the front. After putting it on, fold it about 1.5 centimeters. After folding, we need to secure this position. There are several ways to secure it. One method is to directly sew a few stitches on it. If you sew it, the stitches will be visible.
If you don't like seeing these stitches,
you can also hand sew. For example, when you sew it on,
sew a button on the front to cover this thread.
Another method I use this time.
We are at this spot between the 2 straps. Hand sew a few stitches onto it. Let this thread stay hidden inside.
Don't take it outside.
If you sew here, it's the left part. Just adjust a stitch, then adjust a stitch on the right.
Just sew it up a bit.
Finally, tuck in the thread yourself. Regarding the thread used for tucking it in, should also be hidden inside. It should not be visible on the outside. After finishing, you will see its front. There are no lines, even on the reverse side. Our fixed position is hidden inside this inner side. Then there's the segment of text that we were led by. There is a single line that is position from the style line to the gourd button. For example, it states 10 centimeters. The exact measurement is based on what is each dimension varies. If it indicates 10 centimeters, we will begin from this point.
The gourd buckle is installed at the edge of the strap. Measure 10 centimeters to the left.
Make a mark at the measured position as well. This is where I'm pinching with my thumbs now. This section measures 10 centimeters. The excessive part on the left is the style. Our style doesn't have to be
You can also
this long.
trim it away.
Only 5 millimeters of style remains. Regarding the style here, I like it. I'll trim it after I'm finished. It will be easier to catch when you do. Anyway, You remember where this marker is. We'll be sewing the car shortly. Just secure the position of the strap.
Now, let's focus on the starting position here. First, unfold this area on the right side completely.
Do not touch the left side. Keep it unchanged.
Next, we fold down the top position by 5 millimeters.
Use an iron to press the crease at the top into shape. Then we will make a slight angled cut inward on the edge of the fabric on the far right.
A little will be enough. The top edge is likely around 2 millimeters. Cut it at an angle like this.
Then we will align the left edge along the crease we first pressed while binding.
Fold it over to the right like this.
After folding, it looks like this.
Then we will tuck the fabric on the far right into this opening.
After tucking it in, use an iron to smooth this side.
After tucking it in, we will repress the entire bag along the edge we initially ironed.
Iron it flat again. Then we need to fold this edge of the bag.
Now the point where we start folding on this side is the end that hasn't been folded. We keep folding it all the way down, then simply turn it around and fold it this way.
Just fold it back, like this on the other side. Let's stitch together the upper part, covered with the skirt fabric.
We need to sew the two adjacent edges together with their right sides facing.
However, before sewing, we need to add a pocket to the middle piece.
To help everyone understand,
I will mark the stitching line on the front side of the middle piece.
earlier, I drew on the reverse side of this fabric. In the middle position, there's a straight line. I also marked this position of the straight line on the front side. Take out the pattern for our pocket. I left 1 centimeter for the seam at the topmost position. I also marked this 1 centimeter position on the front. We are folding this 1 centimeter position inward to the back. If we draw this on the front, we can see the position of the line when we fold.
So I marked it on the front.
This way, our folding will be more precise.
Then we can iron this area.
Then we secure the line measurement here. Here I measured 2 lines. If you like, measuring just 1 line is fine too. Or you can measure 3 lines. All of these are just a decorative line. Here, my first line is 1 millimeter from the edge of the fabric. The second line is 5 millimeters from the small triangle that emerges from the inner fold on both sides can be trimmed off. Then we align the top edge of the pocket with the fabric underneath.
The position of the top line, put it on like this.
Ensure that the fabric underneath is also facing
The fabric on top is also facing up.
The seams of these seams or pieces on the sides and at the bottom are perfectly aligned. Then we sew 2 to 3 millimeters in from the edges of the fabric along the 2 side edges and the bottom edge to bring it together as one piece.
After sewing, a pocket is formed here. Here, we redraw the seam line on the front.
This will make it easier to align some positions because this position is quite central. A position that is more visible. If the car is a bit crooked when we get in later, it will be quite obvious. Then we take out the colored pieces on both sides and position the middle one facing
We stitch along the seam line.
When sewing, make sure the position of this foot and the edge of the pocket are perfectly aligned.
The position of this foot at the bottom should align with this one. After aligning, we will directly sew the entire seam. The sewing positions at the top and bottom sections should also be sewn along the line. This is how it looks after sewing.
Then we continue to assemble the other piece.
Assembling this side should also have ensure the points and their positions are aligned. After extracting, unfold the 3 colorful pieces like this. Then we sew a visible line on each side of the joining position. After pulling the main thread, there is some excess stitching
Simply
at this
trim
position.
it along the edge of the fabric.
Once assembled, we can align the ceremonial fabric pattern like this.
Mark the stitching area on the front side of the fabric.
This primarily helps ensure our positioning is more accurate later. If you feel you don't need to trace based on your habits, then you can skip it. Because when the outer fabric and lining are sewn together later, the outer fabric underneath and the lining fabric on top.
Then while sewing, I check if the stitching at the bottom is just right.
So drawing this line helps with aligning the position. After marking the stitching on the front side, this is how it looks. Check these positions yourself to see if they appear crooked. Because after marking it now, this position after the sewing is done, this position will also be crooked. This is considered a more visually prominent position for us.
Try to make it a bit neater.
After stitching the fabric,
Here we will handle the skirt area.
all of these lines on the skirt are drawn on the front side of the fabric. Then we will begin looking from the far left.
The first line on the far left is our edge style line.
The style line isn't great
Then we draw 2 lines like this. Fold the second line slightly.
because I am using this hot cutter pen. I can't use the heat tool. If you cut using water, you can use a heated tool to warm this area. If you use a heated cutting tool, just fold your nails to scratch and create this crease. After this line is properly folded, count 2 lines next to it. These 2 lines are not folded. Fold the third line a bit. After folding this line, we are also counting 2 lines next to it. These 2 lines are not Continue folding the third line.
Just keep repeating this step.
Skip folding every 2 lines.
Fold the third line until we have folded the entire hem.
After all the folding is done, fold the bottom edge along the guideline towards the back side. On the front side, draw a line to secure this position. I marked a line of 1 millimeter. As for this line, if you like to measure a little wider, you can measure 2 or 3 millimeters if you like. This can be based on your own preferences. Then have a look at our drawings.
There is a red dot at the far edge.
We will mark the position of this red dot.
On each of the lines we just folded. Let's mark it.
When everything is marked, then we will start folding from the leftmost side.
we will mark the first crease towards the second line to its right. Align it this way and fold it together. Then starting from the top, to the location of this marker point, measure a line to secure this side is the edge, about 1 millimeter to the left. This measured line, after measuring, it looks like that we need to insert the back needle at the end. But don't insert the back needle too messy. If it's too messy, it won't. Then we will mark the position of the second crease. Move towards the second line on its right. Align them together this way. Keep repeating the previous step. We continuously repeat this step until you reach the number of folds you have made. It's sufficient for the amount I've noted in the drawings. I have it noted on my drawing. How many folds have been made in total? However, we should pay attention to when everyone is doing the folding.
These techniques of yours,
And a certain degree of neatness, including the fabric, because there are some fabrics that have a little bit of elasticity. This will result in this length.
there may be slight errors.
So everyone can adjust based on the actual
Adjust
situation.
the number of these folds as needed.
Once the folds are completed, let's say if we go by the dimensions provided in my blueprint, and the quantity of these folds, generally there will be a small reserved area on the right. If the physique is similar to mine, this extra part can be disregarded.
We'll trim it again later.
Here, let's count the folds, because I'm afraid some sisters might not know. How is the number of these folds calculated?
It's actually the position of our crease.
This way, 1 fold, 2 folds, 3 folds.
Keep counting to the right.
Count until the last fold reaches this position. Then we will adjust the position of the bottom edge.
Fold along this crease at the waist.
I suggest doing it here. Measure a temporary fixed line. Measure this temporary fixed line. One is to make it easier for us to iron. The other helps with convenience later on.
Once we organize the folders, it's hard to mess it up again.
The distance of this fixed line can be adjusted a bit. You can use either 3 or 4. It will be convenient for us to disassemble later. It will be difficult.
Then the color of the sewing thread for this fixed line.
I suggest following your original design. The hem at the bottom edge of the sewing. The color of this stitch spacing is different. Otherwise, it may be easy to disassemble it later.
We mistakenly took down the original baseline.
Additionally, there's the position of the original bottom edge for the hemline. This refers to the position of the stitching. Because when we talk about normal stitching, it tends to leave pinholes. If you have this pinhole in another place, it will be more apparent. We are stitching at the same position. Just wait until everything is taken apart. Won't be too noticeable. After finishing the sewing, this is how the front and back will look. Save this thread for last. It's just that everything, like the buttons, can come and finalize this thread off. Iron it again before you take it off. Here we take out the fabric from the part covered by the skirt. There is a small reserved area at the edges of the upper part.
If your basic body has a larger waist than my styled body,
you will need to utilize this reserved area. The amount to use will depend on the actual circumstances. If it's particularly large,
then you need to extend the sides a bit more when you draw them.
Then we need to adjust the waistband size below based on the length of the upper part's bottom edge. If the number of pleats below is insufficient, then you need to add 1 or 2 more pleats, because what I mean is actually the 2 positions indicated by the red lines on my drawing. It's the length needed for the upper part of my design. So I need to use the positions of these 2 red lines Align as it with the positions of the sewing lines on both sides of the skirt underneath. The sewing lines are also indicated by the red lines here, not the edges of the fabric. It's important to note that there's a reserved section on the right side of the skirt hem.
In fact, the last pleat of the skirt is adjacent to this.
The line further to the right is our sewing line. Then move 5 millimeters to the right of this sewing line.
Then trim off the excess.
This 5 millimeter mark indicates where we will sew. After trimming, this is how the right side of the skirt looks. Then we will align the sewing lines on both sides of the skirt. Align it with the sewing line above. Check if the positions of these 2 sewing lines align. If they match, then there's no problem. If they don't match, adjust it suitably yourself. Check whether to add a pleat or reduce a pleat. But be mindful of the seam on the far right.
You must leave a square space like I just mentioned.
Then sew a seam of 5 millimeters.
Next, we will fold the waist area of the skirt.
Find the center point and make a mark.
At the center of the upper section.
Also make a mark on it. Here, we'll sew it together shortly. Typically, it should be like this. The 2 parts are facing each other.
Then align this mark for sewing.
But we should pay attention to a problem. Here, we can compare the positions of the 2 markers.
Let's compare them.
You will find that if you do this, the marker at the waist of the skirt below
is not in the center of this grid, or if it's at the edge of a grid. Then when you align it with the top part,
this pleat and the center of the upper part,
the bottom edge of the pocket's position.
In comparison, it appears slightly crooked.
In fact, it is not crooked. However, due to the position of this grid, it does not align perfectly with the 2 lines above. It gives a sense of being centered like this.
It will appear crooked.
So everyone can slightly adjust the one below.
The marking point at the waist position, a little to the side.
Or place this marking point below, at the center of this pleat.
Or place the marking point below,
at the edge of this pleat.
This position at the edge where it folds after we align it this way.
If we then sew the upper part,
it will appear very tidy in this position. Usually if you move this part, it might just be a slight adjustment of 1 or 2 millimeters. It won't have any impact. However, if you mean the skirt hem, this area of the waist, if you fold it in half from the beginning, the center point you create
is exactly at the edge of one fold.
Or the center point of a fold.
Then you won't need to move it anymore.
Because each person's sewing method varies. And if the techniques differ,
it will have a minor impact. It's impossible for everyone to be precisely the same position. Here we are just saying we can make a slight adjustment to make it neater. If it looks like that, let's make it a bit neater. If at the center point of the waistline, shifted by 1 or 2 millimeters. When we align with the surface,
on both sides,
there may also be a 1 or 2 millimeter error. However, a 1 or 2
is
millimeter
considered
error.
A normal range.
It doesn't have any impact. After everything about the position, now we will iron the pleat of this skirt. Let's give it an iron, because we haven't ironed it yet. Then here, I'm adjusting this item at the bottom, the marking point on the skirt's waist.
Shift it slightly to the side, to the center of this pleat. to the crease at the very edge.
Here we will mark the position of the center point. After it is properly
Let's confirm
aligned. It once more. The positions of the side seams.
Here we're going to adjust the bottom of the skirt.
The position of the fabric edges at the waist.
Mark this position against the one above.
The position of the excess fabric edges at the hem.
Just trim it off.
That is, after trimming it neatly.
The upper bottom edge is
the same length as the waistband below. This includes their seam allowances. Then after this side is trimmed, we fold the fabric edge inward by 5 millimeters. Please draw this seat stitching line. Currently, this is the stitching line on
the
both
final
sides
adjusted
of the seat.
position.
We will use this position as the reference.
Move inward.
Just take a look at what's written on the drawing. Some indicate 1.5, some indicate 2 centimeters. Refer to your own drawing.
It's right above this tablecloth.
Above this position, I have written a small line
You can
of
take
text.
a look.
It says a few centimeters over there. We are moving in a few centimeters from
Make a
here.
mark.
Please note that this is based
just
on
drawn
this and adjusted it
this
properly.
seam
This seam line serves as the reference.
Draw inward like this.
Once we have marked these 2 points, this is the position where we will place the binding later. Here, the binding and the fabric are facing each other. We will place it at this marked point,
The position on the inside.
at the position of the stitching
few
line.
stitches
on the side to secure it. Take a look after completing
This
the side
marking
point
seam
is located here. Then bring the excess part to this
You
side.
can just trim it a little.
Then we use the same method.
To secure the other side of this strap,
Regarding this strap, it is also located near the inner side of this marked point. That is to say, when viewed from this
It is
direction,
located above this marked point.
then let's take care of it. The position of the bottom edge on the inside. Fold the bottom edge inward along the
Fold
seat
it inside
seam line.
out.
Press it with an iron. Press out the position of the crease. Also, the bottom edge of the lining and the length of the bottom edge of the outer fabric. It needs to be the same.
I haven't trimmed this one yet.
I will trim it after I finish folding it.
If you prefer, you can trim it in advance.
we trimmed this earlier.
Well, regarding the bottom
As
edge
for
of
the
the
stitching
fabric
covering,
positions on
then
both
in the
sides,
interior
part, this stitching position on both
will
certainly
sides.
need to be adjusted accordingly. So regarding now, we need to place the lining and the outer fabric
So along this
right sides
top
facing
curved
each other.
line.
I'll use clips here first.
Secure it at the center.
Secure both sides again. Then let's compare this side, the excess part on the inside of both
Trim it
sides.
off.
After trimming, we start from this position. Sew along this line all the way to this
When
position.
sewing the side
I will
here,
check while sewing. The position of the top and bottom
Is it
seam line,
aligned?
you must ensure it's as aligned
Especially
as
the
possible. Center position. Regarding this center part, it's the part located on our chest.
If you give it,
If the car is somewhat crooked, it will be very obvious. That is, if the sides are misaligned. A crucial step after completing
Let's
the
turn
car.
this to face the other way.
Flip it over to inspect the front. Take a look at this front position. Is it well made? If it's well made, you can proceed to the next step. If it isn't tidy, I suggest you disassemble it a bit.
make it a bit tidier.
If there are no problems, let's continue to turn this over to the other
Trim
side.
this seam a little bit.
Make some notches in the curved areas, the areas without curves. Also slightly tuck the seam in. Leave about 2 or 3 millimeters. Then we will flip it to the front. We can check it again while we're
Are these
at it. Positions neat? No problem.
Let's take out this part of the skirt.
We have made the changes in
This
the
is the
front. Central marking point. Align them together. Sew them together face to face like this. Be cautious while sewing.
This upper section.
Only attach it to the outer part. The skirt is attached to the outer part of
Avoid
the upper sewing
section.
into the inner part. Center marking point. Just remember to align it yourself. You can take a look after finishing there were slight adjustments. The center part and the pleats below.
It looks more centered.
It will be a bit neater.
Then we will continue from
The
what we
seat
just
seam
did.
at the
waist position that we
Trim it a
just
bit.
sewed. Just leave about 2 or 3 millimeters. After trimming, we will open up the upper and lower parts. This position, where they are joined. Scrape it with your nails.
Alternatively, you can iron it.
Then at the outermost edges on
We will
both combine
sides.
the inner
This
and
way,
outer
the
sections.
front sides face
the
each
bottom
other.
edge of the
We have
inner
already
section.
ironed
this crease. Just align with the position Fold it correctly. Pull it down from the top this way. Just pull it to the point where it's no longer inside. The position on the other side. It's the same method. After both sides are clear, we will adjust the seams of this position on
Trim it
both
at an angle
sides.
like
this. Be careful not to cut into the adhesive. After trimming, we will arrange these turn it to the front. You can use tweezers to help. After the ends are flipped properly, now let's take a look at the back side. This is the position at the inner bottom edge. This side of the bottom edge is where we made the crease. One method is to identify the position of this crease. This connects the waist with the upper part. This is the position of the stitch sewing using a long needle technique. Another method is to place the inner lining. This is the position of the crease along the bottom edge. Spot of this line agent. Maintain this position and flip it to the front. In the upper section of this surface, draw a line at this bottom edge. Also, the inner part on the back. Also secure it in place. Here, I have directly taken out the back. This is what the front looks like. And this is the position on either side of the skirt. Fold along the seam inward directly. Fold towards the reverse side. After folding, you can press this side with the iron.
Then like I do.
You start from the lowest position and pull it to the waist area and then move it up. Lastly, come down from this side on the right. If you're not very skilled at pulling clear lines, you can also just pull at the 2 side positions. Because the curved area above has the bright line, it will indeed be a bit more challenging. As of now, I have already removed this spot at the very top. I also pinned on 2 fasteners. This button serves as a replacement for that mushroom nail. Secure the position of this gourd button. If you prefer, you can also use the mushroom nail. But I find that the mushroom nail isn't very secure
Because it's too small.
If I usually need to use gourd buttons, I would buy these small hand-sewn buttons, approximately 3 millimeters in size. I feel that sewing it directly like this, sturdier, it won't come off even with frequent use. If you prefer not to use, you can also simply pin this area straight. For instance, this area I'm folding right now. That would be if we use that gourd button.
The position we folded is here.
It will be a bit shorter.
if we fix it directly. So we'll place another one about 7 millimeters lower. So now we have 2 marking points. The marker point above is this marker point of the gourd buckle. Then we go downward to a point 7 Make another marker point. Then we will place this marker point below and on the upper part of our chest.
Align this marked point on the skirt.
Directly hand sew this part to
Decorate
secure
the
it.
front with a button.
Once secured, if the strap in front is a bit long, if you don't like
You
it,
can simply tuck it into the front pocket.
but if this strap is a bit long,
You should trim it a bit.
otherwise it won't fit. This is what it looks like after handling it. Also, there are many methods to handle this. If what I show you here isn't to your liking,
You can also follow your preferences.
handle the other side in the same way yourself. Finally, attach a hidden button on the
Or
back of
Velcro.
yourself. Just bring the 2 sides together. Here, let's take a look at the colorful panels of the hat. Because I used the same fabric for both the outer layer,
So there are a total
and the
of
lining.
4 panels for the hat.
If you want the color of the rolled edge of the brim to be different, then you can use a different fabric for the lining. The rolled edge will be the color of the lining fabric. Next, we need to sew the 2 pieces of outer fabric with the right side Sew the facing 2 each pieces other. of lining fabric Sew with the the outer outer fabric fabric from from this this point point upwards to here.
The lining
and then
fabric
back down.
needs to
I
have
have
an
marked the
opening.
position of the reverse opening on my drawing. The stitching positions of the lining and the However, outer fabric. This section of the
same.
reverse opening should not
The
be
2
pieces
stitched.
after stitching them according to the position.
And
This area
look
of the
like
lining
this.
is left, so there is a reverse
unstitched.
opening.
Sew the curved area near the ears.
Trim it all with lace scissors. If you don't have lace scissors, make some cuts. The
yourself.
lining and the outer fabric. Then we will
should
place
have
the
cuts.
lining and the outer fabric together with their right
When
sides
sewing,
facing
make
each
sure
other.
to
separate them to align properly. Sew along the entire edge of the hat opening, following
can
the
use
seam
clips
line
or
pins to hold it in place. After sewing, use scalloped scissors to trim the seam around the hat opening. If there's no zigzag scissors, just use regular scissors here.
Just sew this part in a little.
Leave about 2 to 3 millimeters. It's fine not to cut the opening.
Then we turn the entire hat inside out from the inner fabric opening.
After flipping it properly, the lining and the outer fabric are combined.
Arrange and iron the whole hat to make it flat.
Then we fold this section of the hat's opening upwards. The folding amount is marked by a dashed line on our
That
pattern.
serves
as a reference point.
You can also adjust this position to suit your preferences.
Then we will iron the folded position.
Once ironed, the main body of the hat is complete. Sew the inner reverse opening using the hidden stitch technique. The decoration mainly consists of this pentagram. Sew along the outline of the pentagram first. After sewing, we first trim the top layer of fabric, approximately 1 or 2 millimeters from the
Trim
edge of
off
this
about
pentagon.
1 or 2 millimeters.
Once trimmed, we'll trim the fabric underneath again.
For the fabric underneath, trim
We'll
1
leave
or
it.
2 millimeters from the top layer of fabric. This is how it looks after everything has been trimmed. And this spot at the bottom here, I find this one to be quite
I
sharp,
prefer to trim it slightly.
so it ends up looking a bit If you rounder. prefer them pointed,
This
you
can
don't
be
need to
tailored
trim.
to your own preferences.
I only trimmed the lower layer.
After trimming, it appears like this.
Then we can customize it
Some
based
materials
on
are
what you have
used
on
for
hand.
decoration.
For example, cut a piece of ribbon
Fold
like
it
I
in
did.
half, place it on the back of this star.
Then we sew it onto the hat. Where do you think is a suitable
I'm
position?
sewn in a place towards the edge.
When sewing the star shape, we can decorate it with a button
Or
on
we can
top.
use other small accessories.
This is also determined by everyone can sew on the buttons. Just make sure to sew it securely. Then give it a relaxed style. Don't put on some colorful little
Or
any
pins.
other decoration will do. Here, let's take a look at the colorful section of the top. First, we have this main fabric. We need to
And the
mark it on
ceremonial
the
fabric.
front
Draw
side
the position
of
of
the
the
front
fabric.
placket on it. Then this is the section of the placket trim. All are standard 5mm stitches. And there is the hem position of the outer fabric. There are 8 marking points. They all need to be drawn out. The outer fabric is marked on the front side. The fabric is painted on the reverse side. Then there's the lace part of the collar. Regarding the lace, I have used a total of 2 types of lace. They are stitched together. The finer one is a 1 centimeter eyelash lace. The 2 types of lace that I bought are a bit expensive. If everyone has concerns about it, you can find alternatives yourself.
And the lengths are the same.
Wait a moment. We need to stack it together to address dimensions I've written on the blueprint. For example, let me give an
specifies
example. 1.8 by 40 centimeters.
Of course, the data for each dimension varies.
I'm just using this as an example. Everyone should base it on actual details written on the blueprint. I'm explaining this based on 1.8 centimeters by 40 to help
centimeters.
everyone understand
These 2
more
pieces of
easily.
lace,
Its total length is 40 centimeters, plus 5 millimeters of seam on each side. That makes it 41 centimeters. Then we start from the bottom edge of the
Draw
lace.
a
Draw a parallel line upwards. The size of this position is 1.8 centimeters. Additionally, the position of this line upwards
stitching
is
for
should leave
stitching.
at least 7
If your
millimeters.
lace is
particularly wide. This seam that exceeds 7 millimeters, you can simply trim it off. And this embellishment on the hem of the top. This sequin has a standard 5mm seam. And here I have ironed on a stabilizer. Because of the fabric in this area, if it's quite thin, we end up wearing it. If it turns out well,
This area might be a bit wrinkled.
here we will handle the collar lace section. First, this size was discussed in the previous section. I have already covered that part. Then we will proceed according to what after was the lines mentioned have been earlier. drawn above.
Fold this line to the back side.
Press the folded position with an iron.
Create a crease.
After ironing, the front looks like this. The back looks like this. Then we take out this lash strip, directly place it on the front. That is the 2 sections.
Now both are face up. Place the lash strip between these 2 points.
After placing it like this, it refers to the position of the eyelash edge
It's
relative
about
to the top
1
crease.
to 2 millimeters.
Align at the starting point.
Then we place this lace.
Fold back by 5 millimeters. Then fold a line inward at the edge.
Secure this position.
It looks like this after folding. Then we proceed along this position. Just follow this path all the way. You don't need to secure the center position here. Just measure it with your hand.
Check out these two.
Are the sizes of these two lace pieces the same?
Just smooth it over like this. When you reach the very end,
we need to secure this position at the end, just like the position at the beginning. Fold it inward and stitch it to secure. If there is a slight error in the size,
trim it a little. This way, the positions on both sides will be fixed. Then we take this lash line
as the standard for the edge positions on
about
both
2
sides.
millimeters inward.
Fold a dart line on each side. The distance from the dart line on this side
Do not
is measured
backstitch
at the
4.
beginning.
Be aware of
and
one
end.
issue.
This is when we fold the drawstring line. The middle position is not fixed at the front, but we need to keep it aligned with the beginning and the eyelash lace and the lace at the bottom
in the same position.
This is how it looks after the 2 folded lines
Next,
are finished. We pull the 2 bottom lines tight
Pull this
simultaneously.
fold out.
While tightening the bottom line with the right
The
hand,
left hand should push this fabric to the left.
because the length is relatively
Usually,
long.
when
When the folded paper reaches halfway through, I will switch to the 2 baseline lines on the other side. Continue drawing from this side until the entire lace is relatively thick. The condition of a fold. We'll set this part aside for now. After we finish the collar section,
Then we will
shortly.
adjust this lace.
Next, let's address this part of the hem of the garment. I have pressed a layer of thin interfacing because the
onto
fabric
this
I am
piece.
using is quite
If you do
thin.
not use interfacing,
It indicates that the fabric is quite thin.
After finishing, this waistband might have it might feel a bit wrinkled. Then we will fold it like this.
The side that is folded in is the front.
side
of the
facing
fabric
up
is the wrong side of
following
the
the
fabric. Edge of both sides at this seam line position.
So directly.
After sewing, we will work on the seams
Trim
on
it
both
slightly
sides.
at an angle.
After completing, flip it to the front. Give it a quick iron.
Because I'm using a hot selling pen,
After you finish ironing, the position of this seam line will disappear. So I'm going to redraw the position of this style line. You can also draw it on the front side of the fabric.
draw this style line. Just draw one side.
This way, it will be a bit more accurate when sewing. Let's first take care of the door reinforcements here. The door reinforcements are made according to the
Also, we
dimensions
need to account for the
specified in
seams
the
on
length of
all
the
4
door
sides.
reinforcements has a slight extra
Because
allowance.
if
they are too short, it will be
Just
difficult
trim off
for
the
us to
excess
work
parts
with
in a
them.
moment.
Here we will fold the seam lines of the 2 long edges to the back.
After folding, press the edges with steam.
Then we take out the outer fabric of the top at the position on the front opening. Fix the side seams in position on both sides. Here I'm bringing both sides inward. Sew a 1 millimeter line on the side to secure it. After finishing the side seams, trim the excess at the top
Trim
and
along
bottom.
the edge of the fabric.
Then let's deal with this small fold at the hem. Make a mark at the midpoint between the 2 marked points.
Now in this video, the fabric is facing up.
We'll use the marked points on both sides.
Fold this area like I do. Then fold it towards the marker point in the center.
After folding, let's take a look at the back. You can see that it is slightly folded. Then take the marker point on the other side.
Fold it as we did before.
After folding, align it to the center mark. Align it in the same way. The marking points on both sides.
After folding, align to this center mark.
We will be sewing on this.
Bend a few stitches a couple of millimeters to the right to secure it. The fold at this position will be relatively small. If you find it difficult to sew by machine, you can sew by hand.
Sewing 2 stitches by hand may be faster.
After folding this position, the front looks like
The back
this.
looks like this.
Then we repeat the steps.
Fold the other 3 positions of the fabric as well.
After folding the fabric,
Fold
please
the
pay
inner
attention
part.
to the
This
inside.
fold inside.
We will fold it with the back side facing up, even though they are all the same fold. But one is folded on the front side of the fabric. One is folded on the inside's reverse side. Everyone just needs to pay attention to the front, and here we will place the right side of the outer fabric against Fold the the bottom right side edge of the lining at fabric. this position, along the stitching line towards the reverse side. Now our lining is facing with the reverse side up.
So we have folded it upwards.
After folding, use your fingernail to press this position. The other
create a
side is
crease.
handled the same way. Keep the crease in this position, which is the folded state. We position the lining and outer fabric from the
Facing
bottom
each
edge of the lining. We fold upwards at the position of the crease we made. Sew the collar all the way around. Then come down from this opening at the back on the other side. Coming down, focus on the bottom edge on this
This
side.
seam is also pre-folded.
After folding, let's take a
These
look.
2 areas are folded like this.
Next, we fold the areas of the side armholes. The 5 millimeter seam at the front and back should also be folded. After folding, use decorative scissors to make notches in the curved
If you
areas.
don't have
decorative scissors, use regular scissors
The
to make
neckline
notches.
area
also needs to have notches cut. After processing, it looks like this. Then we use pliers to turn it
In
inside
the
out.
front shoulder area, move back like this.
Pinch the back fabric and pull it forward like this. After pulling it over, we can switch hands. Don't keep using this nail clipper. It's easy to break it. Use your hands to slowly pull it out. So I initially mentioned that you shouldn't use particularly
this
thick
area of
fabric.
the shoulder
It
is
may cause
difficult
issues
to pass
Next, we will flip the other side using the same method. After flipping it properly, we now arrange it. The ironing of the shape is like this. Then we take out this collar lace that has been folded in front.
Let's tidy it up.
Here, pay attention to the method I use for tidying up the lace. Pinch both sides with your hands and give them a slight twist.
Straighter.
Here, our main goal is to make the lace look attractive. A bit more orderly. Then we adjust according to the size of the neckline circle. Adjust the size of the lace. It needs to fit this circle perfectly. After adjustments, the starting position of the lace and this opening at the bottom and in the back, the top position is perfectly aligned. The fabric on the right side aligns with the collar's edge.
We follow the position of the pleat line closest to the right.
Sew around it in a circle. During the sewing process, we need to sew simultaneously. We should also organize this pleat. You must pay attention to how it looks while you sew. This is how the pleat appears. Therefore, you cannot sew without paying attention. You must sew while organizing at the same time. Be mindful of the edge position on the far right of the lace.
Make sure to cover the edge of the collar.
Once the lace is done, it looks like this.
Now let's check the two gathering lines.
One line is on top and another is below. Let's not process the line below for now. Let's first deal with the line above.
Just take down this line above.
If you find it hard to take down, and this isn't very noticeable either because I use a white wire like this as well. In fact, it's not very noticeable even if I don't have to take it apart either. After taking it apart, we'll mainly focus on the second dash line. This is relatively close to the bottom of this folding line. We only need to adjust the positions on both sides. Just take away a little bit from it. This is due to the sides of this folding line.
It's a spot near the edge. It typically has few pleats.
So the seam at this position, it appears to be quite wide.
Because we use a wider seam.
Therefore, we will only disassemble this small section. Looks like the adhesive is very noticeable. Remove it from the wider area. Do not cut it directly. Just carefully use tweezers to pick it out.
Then we take this thread from above
and use a needle to thread it through. After threading
then
it
we
correctly,
secure it back at the point where the thread comes out.
Next, we will work on the back and its bottom edge.
Tie a knot in it.
Fix it directly. Trim off the excess part. It means hiding this thread.
Hiding it behind.
Then the position beneath this pleat
is also secured by this thread.
After finishing this side, we'll use the same method to handle the gathering line underneath the other side. Also, let's process it a bit. After finishing the lace on the collar,
we'll now unfold and align the front and back positions together.
Sew directly along the seam line. The middle seam position splits apart and aligns on both sides. The other side is also unfolded and aligned together. Sew directly along the style line. After sewing, separate the fabric to both sides. The inner and outer parts are combined. The position of this armhole has been finished. After processing these two positions the same way, it looks like this. Then I changed to a different fabric here.
The processing method is the same.
It's just that different fabrics are used. Here we turn it to the reverse side. Initially, we will work on the bottom edges of the inner parts on both sides. This position has already been properly folded and sewn.
Then we take out this section of the hem.
We need to sew it to the bottom edge of the outer part. When sewing, make sure not to sew into the inner part. Sew it separately to the outer part.
So when we sew, we need to set this lining aside.
When sewing, we need to pay attention to the bottom edge part of the upper section should be facing the lining. Sew along the upper and lower sewing All their stitching should be directed towards the right side. Once the car is ready, let's check this area on the back. There are no vehicles in the interior section. Next, align it from front to back.
Then we will turn this hem to the front.
Unfold this stitching area and lightly press it with an iron.
Then we will fold the entire bottom edge of the lining.
All of it will be folded inward along the seam line. Fold towards the back side of the fabric. The crease will be aligned with the front part. The line at the location where we just stitched the hem. Just align perfectly. Here, we will directly use the long Align the crease position and the thread position in a straight line. Sew it by hand along that straight line. Sisters who don't know the long needle method, there is a separate video in our tutorial. This video covers the long needle Basically, technique. You just pick up 2 stitches at this crease. Then pick up 2 stitches at the line position.
Just sew through like this.
Finally, decide where to open the buttons. Just fasten the concealed buttons or Velcro on. Here, we are looking at the colorful pieces of the bag. Here are 2 outer fabric pieces. Note that on the front side of one of the fabric pieces, we need to mark the position of this pocket. Draw it on the fabric's front.
Then at the top of the pocket fabric,
leave a seam of 1 centimeter. The remaining areas should be 5 millimeters. 2 pieces of pocket fabric. I only drew 1 piece. The other piece is about the same size. You can trim it after sewing it together later. Next, we have 2 pieces of ceremonial fabric. The fabric cannot be too thick. That is to say, if your outer fabric is already quite thick, you should use a thinner lining fabric. Otherwise, it will be difficult to flip the part. Then we will work on the pocket part here. For the pocket, I have 2 identical pieces of fabric. So the front sides face in measuring, consider the top 1 You also need to measure the positions at both ends of the stitches. Without place it on one of the pieces of fabric's front side. Measure a label like this to attach it to the fabric. Measure the stitching position along the edge.
Note that this is the front side of the fabric. The unmarked part should face left. Sew towards the right.
Next, we will align the front sides of the 2 fabric pieces. Sew along the position we discussed earlier.
Trim the unsewn section at the top.
We trim along the edge of the fabric that we have already cut. Trim along the edge of the fabric. Use the curved scissors to cut the remaining areas. After trimming, we flip it to the front.
Iron it flat.
At the opening position, we sew along this line at a depth of
Fold
about
it towards
1 centimeter.
the reverse side.
Sew 2 lines on the front side to secure this area. You can also sew only 1 line. This can be done based on your personal preference. I have 1 millimeter from the edge of the fabric. I also stitched a line at the 5 millimeter mark. Then we take the thread from this side at the position of the pocket on its front.
Sew it directly along the edge to secure it.
Please note that the straight line at the top opening is not stitched. After completing the sewing, check if this pocket is crooked. If it's crooked, you need to disassemble it and make adjustments yourself. If there are no issues, let's proceed to the next step. Next, we will place the two pieces of fabric with the right sides
Sew the
facing
bottom
each other,
line.
and also the lines on both sides. After sewing, we will take these three lines. Separate the sewn positions to both sides. You can do it like this.
The top layer is folded over like this.
The bottom layer is folded back like this. Scratch the nails to shape them. Then we separate the two layers of fabric like this. We align the two seams at the position of this corner. They are precisely aligned.
Then we follow the seam line.
Just sew through like this.
After sewing, trim this seam a little.
Leave about 2 to 3 millimeters. Then we repeat the steps. Take care of this corner on the other side. Also handle it the same way. Once both sides are finished, you can flip it over to check the front.
The bottom is positioned like this now.
Then the shape of the bag takes form. Next, we will process the inside using regarding the inside here, we need to leave a reverse stitch. Because the doll is smaller, I suggest leaving the reverse stitch at the bottom.
On this line.
So when we sew, just don't sew at this part of the reverse fold. The other areas are just like our fabric. This method is exactly the same. The well-prepared interior. We flip it to the front side. The bottom here is a reverse buckle. So there is a hole. Then we will combine the lining. We will align the front sides together.
Align all parts.
Especially the position of the straps. There are a total of 4 positions. We measure approximately 3 centimeters from the top down.
Make a mark.
This is the top section of all the straps. Do not sew around the position of about 3
The
centimeters.
other 3 straps are the same.
We start from this marked point. Sew down like this to this marked point. The position on the side. We start from this marker point.
Then we sew down here.
Next, we drive to this marker point over here. Then we continue on this side. Also, we follow this marker point all the way. The vehicle reaches this marker. Finally, this marker point here has been reached. The vehicle reaches this marker here. Prior to the official vehicle. We can consider this section above. The area we don't sew, we are on the front side.
Mark where we will sew this.
This makes it easier for us to fold later. However, some sisters feel that if you don't draw it, it will also be more standard. You can also choose not
just
to
for
draw.
assistance, because there is no seam above.
Wait a moment. We will need to fold it inward at the end. Then we have 2 pieces of fabric, one above
Sewn
and one
together.
below. After making a mark on the front, if you fold it again, it's easier to see the position. Then it will be more standardized. Here, I have marked the positions of the outer fabric. I have drawn everything out. Then I'll proceed with draw it in the front area. Then we proceed along the positions we just mentioned. Sew it briefly. During the sewing process, all the stitching locations we come across. When sewing this, it needs to be spread apart to outer fabric and lining should be placed together.
Then we will sew this part.
Make a mark on the front side. Then place the 2 pieces of fabric
Draw
above
on the front,
and below.
then sew this.
Draw on the front.
Then sew this.
Draw on the front.
Then sew this.
Draw a line on the front. After finishing sewing, we are at the curved area. Use edge marking scissors to make special attention.
The top section is not stitched.
You must not trim the stitched part.
Only trim the curved areas.
It looks like this after trimming. Then about the strap part here. We have 2 methods to deal with One method to consider is we will provide it directly now. It's the section at the very top that isn't stitched. Sew along the reverse side of the fabric. Fold it neatly.
Just iron it.
You can also do it like I do. Start with this reverse opening. Turn the entire bag to the front. We'll handle this strap part later. Turn the strap position over. Need to use a hemostatic clamp. From the bottom to this part of the strap. Just reach in like this. Pinch the fabric on top.
Pull it back.
After pulling it a little closer, switch hands now. Just don't keep using these hemostatic because forceps. If you use the hemostatic forceps, it's easy to stretch the fabric out of shape. Carefully pull it out by hand. After flipping the straps to the right side, then we repeat the steps to flip the other 3 straps. Also flip them to the right side. After the positions of the 4 straps are flipped over, the reverse opening position at the bottom sew it up yourself using the hidden stitch method. Then let's take care of it. These 2 straps on the front are the 2 straps on the side with the pocket. Directly place the 2 fabric fronts facing each other. This stitching position at the top.
Sew them together.
Sew the inner part after finishing. The inner part should also be facing each other.
Sew along the top edge.
Sew it.
Be careful when driving.
This strap that we have.
Don't twist it around.
There shouldn't be any turns in the middle. Just pull it over like this. Just sew the front sides together.
When sewing here,
make sure that the seams in the front and back are both. There should be no places where it's folded together.
Just sew it smoothly.
After the tablecloth is done, it looks like this. Then we will stitch this tablecloth. Just trim it a bit. Leave about 2 to 3 millimeters. After the trimming, we will separate this seam to both sides. Use your nails to gently scrape this seam.
Then we will work on the seam here.
Fold it this way towards the back side of the fabric. It's just along the front edge
along
of
the
stitch
fabric.
line drawn on the front.
If you haven't drawn this line,
then you're at the 5 millimeter stitching mark. Just fold it directly. Make a rough estimate yourself. Fold both sides nicely. You can also press it with an iron yourself. Allow the crease in this position to set. Next, we will work on this strap, the locations of these 2 linings. The method for processing the lining
is
and outer
identical.
fabric. You can simply repeat the steps yourself. Next, we'll take the lining and outer
and
fabric.
Fold the seams properly.
Align the lining with the outer fabric. When you sew the straight line along the edge later, just sew this position while you're at it. You can secure this position with a pin, or you can temporarily secure it. I don't have it fixed here. Then we turn it over to the back. Handle these 2 straps on the back. The handling method is the same as the 2 straps. It's exactly the same. Everyone should repeat the steps themselves. The front and back straps. I have taken care of everything. Then we sew a straight line along the edge. While sewing the strap, just align the position of the opening. Sew it together so that they are aligned. If you're not skilled at sewing visible stitches, you can simply use the hidden stitch method to sew it. After you finish sewing one side of the opening, work on the other side before working on the other side of the car. We will first open this part of the opening. Finish sewing this side we just completed.
Trim the seam next to it a bit.
Trimming can prevent issues. The seat seam is somewhat thicker. But on the other side, this side has not been stitched yet. Do not cut the seat because if we trim it, when we fold it later, it might be difficult to fold. Of course, if you are confident, you can also trim it. Additionally, be cautious while trimming. Avoid cutting into the fabric itself. Just trim the area of this seam. Once the trimming is complete, we'll work on the seam at the opening. Fold it back to align it vertically. Then we will work on this side. Sew this thread by yourself. Just like how we sewed the visible thread on the other side. It's exactly the same. This part is also the same. Follow the edge to mark the clear line. After completing all the clear lines, it looks like this.
Then this bag is finished.
Here, let's take a look at this cut piece from the butt face. First, let's look at the direction of the fabric, because I used authentic woven fabric for these 2 parts. The texture on it is a solid texture. Then, if we pull the sides apart like this, it is stretchy. This part of the waist is oriented vertically. This area has elasticity when pulled on both sides. Then I drew 2 lines on the front of the waist. The first line represents the size after folding it like this. This is the centered line, and there's also this line at the bottom. The line below is drawn from the edge of the fabric. The line is drawn about 2 millimeters above that. This is the stitching line we'll have after we fold it in half. If you feel confident, the position of this line doesn't need to be drawn. Here, I'm just saying that marking it will help you understand better. Or we can sew 1 millimeter from the edge of the fabric. I personally like the 1 millimeter position, but the 2 millimeter position is a bit easier to sew. It's easier to leave a 1 millimeter gap. This can be adjusted based on the actual circumstances. Next, we begin from the leftmost edge of the fabric. Measure a distance to the right. The exact measurement is noted on the drawing. This is written in a lengthy text. At the end of that section, it indicates to mark a point a certain number of centimeters from the left to the right. For instance, it is 14 centimeters. Then the distance of this segment is 14 centimeters. The exact amount is based on what you have written on your own drawings. Every size is different. Then we will take this section of the waist. Fold it this way. Simply fold along the line I've drawn in the middle. The purpose of this line is merely to serve as a guide. Next, we will follow the edge of the fabric. Move 1 millimeter to the right, or sew directly at the 2 millimeter mark. The position I marked is 2 millimeters, but because I personally prefer precision in driving to 1 millimeter, so in fact, it is still possible to drive to the 1 millimeter mark. This is based on individual needs, adjusting to the position close to the mark we just made. Stop at about 2 centimeters. I'm relatively close on this side, but I suggest you stop ahead of time. This way you can insert this curtain. It will be easier to clip. Then, we will take this fabric of the privacy curtain. Clamp it in the middle of the waist area. The sewing position remains the same. It's just that we will take this fabric here, secure it in place, and then sew it. If you want to sew more neatly, we can position it like this. From the edge of the fabric inward, about 5 millimeters in, draw a line like this. When we sew, the position of this line can be aligned with the waist, the position of the edge of the fabric in this part. Also pay attention to this. The position at the very edge of our curtain is perfectly aligned with our marker. From the position of this marker, start to install this curtain. This way, it's less likely to have too much coverage in certain areas. In some places, there are fewer cars. It's basically right here, the positions of the lines we drew. They are all auxiliary lines, if the skills of the female drivers are decent. You don't need to mark the positions of these lines. Then here we just complete sewing the entire line. After sewing, this is what the front looks like. Here I am from the edge of the fabric. It's sewn 1 millimeter inward. Then we will take this longer strap, which is where we started marking points. This strap on this side, turn it like this and tie a knot. Pay attention to this knot. That's basically how to fold it properly. It doesn't need to be pulled too tight. If it's pulled too tight, it will become misshapen. When we finally dress the child, it's just about the strap on the other side. Pass through this position in the middle of the knot. Just pull it over like this. The position of this knot, normally you can leave it intact. You just need to take this strap, just pull it out. Then we have the curtain decoration part. It looks like this. It's just the edges. I just tear the fabric, this raw edge that we made. This side already includes the stitching. No additional stitching is needed. There is a dashed line position on the drawing. We will fold this dashed line position. Note that it should be folded towards the front side of the fabric. After folding it like this, let me first show you its position. I placed it on the side without a knot. This side, then its waist area, just straighten it a little. We are a bit tilted like this. Put it like this. Of course, you can place it upright if you like. My angle here is just a bit tilted. This can be customized based on your own preferences. Next is this position at the front. It also reveals a bit of the edge, showing about 5. In this episode, I used a 4-way stretch fabric for the socks. And this type of fabric has better elasticity. So the design of this episode's socks will be slightly slimmer. And I didn't sew the top part of the sock at home, because this fabric completely prevents fraying. So I didn't sew it at home, nor did I fold it inwards to join the seams. If the fabric you are using is different from mine, You can also do it in the usual manner. It's just that different fabrics will yield different results. Then after we draw the pattern on the fabric, this straight line is directly folded in half. Now the side facing up is the wrong side of the fabric. Here we can directly fold and sew along the red stitching. But there is a problem. This fabric has a lot of elasticity, so it's not very easy to fold. Here, I suggest placing a piece of paper underneath. What I'm using here is just ordinary thin A4 paper for copying. After folding, the back of the paper looks like this. Then we need to pay attention when tearing the paper. Tear the paper from the side using force on both sides. Don't pull it hard from the front. Then we are about 3 millimeters from this seam. Cut this sock off, turn it to the front and iron it. Socks will be fine. Next, let me explain how to put them on. This sock is quite long. After we put it on the child like this, let it gather a bit and create some wrinkles. Now, let's demonstrate how to perform the hidden stitch. First, the thread end is concealed within the fabric. We need to pull the needle out from inside the fabric. Using this exit point as a guide, insert the needle into another piece of fabric above it. Can we see directly from this point here? This point is the same as this point. Then we enter this area from here. The distance between my needle entry and exit is about 3 millimeters. You can make it a bit closer together when you do it, and that's fine. Next, insert the needle at the same point on the fabric below. The needle exits about 3 millimeters from the adjacent side. The following step is also repeated. It's a continuous up and down process. Once the reverse suture is finished, you can tighten the thread. Simply remove the needle and tie a knot. Then thread the needle through the fabric. Just pull the thread slightly tight and it will hide.